would fly if there was deer, if it was in the middle of the night. And that's been that way since, first of November.
And I think I'm getting public call to order, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, Jared?
Hey. Oh.
Between them two in case you get.
Yeah.
Or something.
Tough snow too.
Okay. I gotta put that in. All right, we'll call the meeting to order.
I would,
Oh, we ran them, that's right.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from, the last meeting. I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Public comment.
Anything, Ashley? You're kind of back in the public area.
No, I'm good, thank you. I gotta dip out a couple times, so I don't wanna distract you.
I guess for me, the only comment is Gary Miller wanted to know where he can get the book. Jared got ours.
Wait, I have them in my office. Let me go get 'em.
Have more?
Yeah, I do.
Jerry Miller
Everybody
wants-
here has one.
Okay, I can get one to Jerry. Easy enough.
I think Terry asked me one day too, so I don't know if he's gotten one yet or not, but
So I think all,
definitely the people on that committee should be having one.
I think all of the forestry committee should know what's in this book.
Okay. Oh,
So is there any public comment? Other than that? So discussion and possible motion. Review the minutes and directives that created the Trails Committee. Rod, you wanted that? What do you got?
Well, I went back and looked, the minutes are, because I got to thinking, okay, what is our directive, what is our power, that, you know, what are we really supposed to be doing? The minutes really has nothing, but, you know, the resolution that they passed, I guess that's what we got to go by. It says, therefore be resolved, Rusk County create a public trails ad hoc committee comprised of 7 members representing tourism, ATV clubs, non-motorized recreation, sports people in Rusk County, and be it further resolved that interested members, the public submit a letter of interest that will be reviewed by the Rusk County Forestry Committee. Members will serve 3-year terms with a staggered rotation. Initial appointments will have 2 members serving a 1-year term, 3 members 2-year term, 2 members a 3-year term. Be it further resolved that the Public Trails Ad hoc Committee is charged with conducting field verification of trail conditions, reviewing trail requests, and forwarding recommendations on open, closed status, trail use designation, and or trail creation to the Rusk County Forestry Committee. And I guess that's, well, and the last thing, I guess, is further down the list here. Be it further resolved, each member shall receive a per diem consistent with Rusk County policy. We'll talk about that later, but. So this says we are charged with conducting field verification of trail conditions, reviewing trail requests, and forwarding recommendation on open, closed status, trail use designation, and or trail creation to the Rusk County Forestry Committee. So, I guess that pretty well says what we're supposed to be doing.
Anyone feel that that's not what we have been doing?
I don't know. I guess the other question I have, and I'm glad Jared's here, down under D, Jared and Nick, so how do our responsibilities interact with the forestry department, the conservation department? Cause I mean, you guys are kinda doing the same thing to a certain extent, when you're out and about and whatever, you know, whatever else, so. You know, we've had this discussion, it makes makes sense to work together, right? Instead of being at odds with each other. That make sense?
Absolutely.
I mean, what do you guys feel about that? Are you okay with what this says, or anything to add, or?
Well, I'm kind of okay with it, cause I helped write it. You know, my vision of all of this is, just given the volume of trails that are out there, there's no way that myself, or Johnny, or Jared, or his shop can cover all of those trails, right? So we need to work together. You guys are out there a lot more than we are in that part of the world. It just makes sense to me for you guys to be out there, or when you're out there, just be documenting those trails. You know, how are they built? How are they constructed? Were there certain things on the trail when it was constructed that follow those DMPs or not? Just to document the condition and, I guess just the condition of those trails that are out there. We can't get out to all of them.
One question, during deer season, I like to spend a day or two and kind of go up in that big woods between Hackett Road, River Road, south of, Purvis Landing Road, you know, kind of that big chunk there. What I did this year, I took a day and I had Chris drop me off up at the north end up there, I don't know the trail number, but east of, where Hackett Road meets, Purvis Landing, is it Purvis Landing Road or Skinner Creek Road there? Purvis Landing Road, where they all kind of come together there. You go west,
Skinner Creek and Hackett.
you go west a little ways and that trail that comes down all the way through. Not the one closest to the beaver pond, the one closer to Hackett, that's open. So during deer season, I took my rifle and I just kind of, you know, slowly walked all the way down through, all the way to Chris's house. You know, and I kind of, you know, tried to document some things as I was going, and as I was out there, I've got that Avenza Maps, and that is awesome. It would be able to see exactly where you're at on that trail system. It would be nice, can we add a water layer to something, so when you're out there, you can see where the wetlands are according to the map? You know, cause, I know I've had that before when you're on a trail and, you know, there's supposed to be a wetland there, and you look and it's, you know, it doesn't really look like a wetland right here, but you don't know exactly where you're at in relation to the map either.
Well, I don't know, I've never seen that event, is it Avenza?
Avenza.
Yeah, I have not seen that. I don't know if that has the capability to upload data to it. I don't know.
Yeah, so we pulled the map wetlands off the DNR surface water data. We created a layer on our map, so we could create an Avenza map that had those on there. You wouldn't be able to add it to what you have, you'd have to re-download the thing, you know, off the website or whatever. Well, I don't know if everybody needs that or what, or just you guys would want the wetland layers with your map or what.
So the
It's
map,
possible, yeah.
that map that I'm pulling now, does that get updated, or is it the way it is until I do something and download something different?
Yeah, it does not update unless you re-download the whole thing. So after each of the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 committee meetings, well, the ones where they open more trails, we changed that online map. So anyone who hasn't re-downloaded that is working with an old map.
Okay.
It won't automatically update anything.
So if you did a wetland one, could we have like 2 choices, or how would that work? Or would the wetlands just be added to the one that we have now?
I suppose it could be added to it. You might look a little busy to an everyday user.
Or even
But it's also important to note that that wetland map is incomplete. I mean, it's mapped wetlands, and those are fairly accurate. But there's a lot of wetlands that aren't mapped.
So, what exactly are you wanting to do here, Rod? Are you wanting to just, review this, or just
Yeah.
discuss this, we're not making any motion, you wanna find out what we're supposed to be doing?
I think it's important that we know what we're supposed to be doing.
So,
I don't know that we need to make a motion of any kind, but.
I don't think so. I think, I don't know, I guess my personal thought is that it doesn't need to be on the map open to the public on that website. Anyone can request anything they want.
Yeah.
I think if you guys wanted a special one with that, it's pretty easy to make.
When I go into Venza, can I have two choices on which one to pull, or no?
You could put them both onto your phone, yeah, just open the one you want.
Okay.
With the free version, you can put 3 maps.
Okay.
I believe that's what it was, last I checked.
Maybe I'll stop in someday and maybe you guys, if you can do that or whatever, we can figure out how to get it on my phone.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, probably be too big to email, maybe, I don't know if we can email that size of an event on that, I guess, I'm not sure. But either way, yeah, if you stop in, it shouldn't be too difficult.
I can do that, cause then Dane can show me how to
Yeah.
use it.
Do you have an iPhone or a?
Yeah, iPhone.
Okay.
I think Dane's the resident expert on those systems.
No, well, more or less.
so, I just had one thing to add to this about the minutes and directives. The directive that they passed this under was to, the powers of the county board, this is the state law, may enact an ordinance designating a committee to have charge of the county force and specifying the powers, duties, and procedures and functions of the committee. The members of that committee shall be appointed pursuant to 5913 and may include well-qualified residents of the county who are not members of the county board. And of course, that's what they did. Whether, you know, obviously we had someone send in a letter that we weren't qualified and, you know what I mean, but that could, no one is probably.
The committee that's addressed in that, that's from chapter 2811, isn't it? It would
Um,
be the forestry committee, Rusk County has decided to make that a committee of the county board
Right,
many moons ago. Your committee was created to advise them.
right. And so that's that's what I was gonna say, when we advise the forestry committee, that goes forward. You know what I mean, from there, whether Jared says his piece or Nick says his piece. I mean, certainly that's the right we have to be out there and inspect these trails, right?
Sure, because it's written down.
Is that, is a yes?
Repeat the question.
What I'm saying is that there's been some confusion as to whether we should be out there inspecting trails by some people.
Mm-hmm.
And you certainly feel like we have that right, correct?
I'm not sure, because from what I've heard about Rich Summerfeld, the lawyer, or whatever he's called, corporate counsel of the county has some issues with it.
Okay.
So it's finance.
Yeah, I watched the finance, that's right, but they all voted this, that's what we're trying to sort this out here right now, but
Yeah.
and if you don't feel, that's fine, cause that's what, you know, that's what elections are for, so we'll sort through that too. Do you wanna move on, or what do you wanna do there, Rod?
Yeah, I guess one other question I would have, and I'm not sure where that applies, is I've got some more trails I wanna look at. Does it make sense to look at them in the winter when they're frozen? I mean, obviously, if there's much more snow than we've got now, it covers things up, but if it's just frozen, I mean, we can still probably see what we need to see, right? What's you guys' opinion?
I think you can pretty much see what you need to
I
see. It's hard to
think-
identify wetlands.
I think you can, it might be hard to identify, you know, if you're looking at vegetation in wetland, you know, wetland community type plants, that might be difficult. But other than that, I think you could look at a trail and you know what it's like, you know, what's the base
Okay.
course like, is it packed, is it clay, is it sand, you know? I don't know why, other than being snow covered,
Okay,
I think.
alright, thanks.
Alright. So, and then, do you you have something to say, Jerry?
I was gonna say, it's probably doable today, but like you said, much more snow. It's getting tough.
Well, I agree.
So, you wanna move on to B? All right, you ready?
Well, I think we kinda covered B too. didn't
Okay.
we? Yeah, I think, Benny? Anybody got anything else on B, or do we kinda cover that?
What is your answer then? Do we have the authority or no?
I suppose we're gonna find that out, and there'll be an election soon, and we'll sort through that too.
Well, I think C kinda touches on that, right?
Well, so the purpose of administration of the county forest is to provide the basis for a permanent program of county forest and to enable and encourage the planned development and management of the county forest for optimum production of forest products together with recreational opportunities, wildlife, watershed protection, stabilization of stream flow, giving full recognition to the concept of multiple use to assure maximum public benefits. Protect the public rights, interests, and investments in such land, and to compensate the counties for public uses, benefits, and privileges these lands provide, all in a manner which will provide a reasonable revenue for the towns which the lands lie. Reasonable revenue means revenue, not full revenue to timber and be gone with everyone else. We have to understand that, it's multiple use. So, and, you know, to the maximum public benefit. So, that's all I got to say on A and B, and, if anyone's got anything else they wanna add in there, they're welcome to add it in. I think that, because we have a forestry division and a parks division, which I mean, we obviously have to have those. Foresters, and this is not in a negative, are worried about timber, right? That's your main goal, right?
It's part of it.
Okay. The park is worried about the parks, but there's this whole swath of land that is used by the public, which is very seldom actively logged, but constantly used by the members of the public, and those people should deserve and utilize them to the maximum benefit of them. And so we need to always keep that in mind. So the bird watcher can go out there, and the cross-country skier, and the ATVer, and the hunter, and the fisherman, and the berry picker, and the mushroom hunter, and everyone else has their time to get out there. So when we start segmenting these trails, especially where it's for skiing or this or that, and pretty soon that other users don't feel welcome, that's a problem. So that's all I got to say on those. If anyone's got anything else on A or B, we'll talk it over.
I
Don?
would just add that that's an important point, I think, is the whole multi-use concept. Because it's not just ATVs and UTVs, it's not just timber
Right.
production. It's important, I'm not saying it's not important, especially the timber production, it is a critical part of the county. But there are other uses too, you know, there's campers, there's hikers, there's bird watchers, there's bicyclists, there's horse riders, there's, you know, lots of different people want to use that public land for lots of different uses, and we just have to keep that in the back of our heads all the time, that this is a multi-use forest, and we have to manage it that way.
It was said to me that the main concern of the forestry is to make money off forestry, and because that's what the forest is there for. If our goal of this public land is to only make money off it, then they ought to shut down every park in this county, because none of them make money, as far as I can tell. They all lose money by a substantial amount, and I think the parks guys do a good job. But we can't just decide that this is money and stay out of our way, and this is not money, but come here. We have to, it's a multi-use.
Being multi-use brings in the tourism dollars, we hope. Now, the biggest complaint I've heard on the tourism dollars in the forestry department is, you know, it doesn't come directly into the forestry. No, it comes into the coffers. That's what tourism does. And tourism, I've been told, is our second biggest income. So, again, it goes back to multi-use. We just can't be focused in one direction. And if I heard right here at, one of the last forestry meetings that, the timber market is kind of gone into the toilet. And so now we've got all of our eggs in one basket, to where I've got ranch friends out in North Dakota that when the wheat prices are great, the cattle prices are not, and when the cattle prices are great, the wheat prices are not, and we don't have that luxury, it seems like. So we need to build on the multi-use, so that we've got that to fall back on.
Alright, is there any more discussion on A or B? Let's go to C, discussion of Trails Committee members' compensation and mileage reimbursements.
I personally haven't put in for any of it, and I don't need to put in for any of it.
I would ask if anyone's put in for any of it.
Ross hasn't, I can speak for him, I guess Dave's not here, so.
I picked up the paperwork because I understood that when I was traveling all over the county, that I was gonna get some mileage reimbursed on it. When I went up to finance, they said that wasn't gonna be the case, I would get paid to drive to this meeting. I don't need the money, I mean, that's not what it's about, but if I'm going every direction in the county, it would've seemed reasonable to me, but after watching the finance committee meeting and some of the things that were said there that were just, I was just floored at. I don't need the money, I don't want the money, Don said you didn't want the money, you told me to stay away. If that's the problem, I mean, if it's what is it gonna amount to, $50 a month?
This is a volunteer position, wasn't it?
No, it was supposed to be paid.
Well, that,
I don't need the
You
money.
had said right from the get-go, if it was gonna be paid, you didn't want anything to do with it.
I want no part of it.
I certainly don't need the money, I thought it would be nice instead of spending 15 hours up in the Blue Hills looking at trails, cause I'm not an ATVer, I don't really enjoy it, it's hard on my back, I mean, but I'll go do it. But, and the $40 worth of gas to drive over there would've been nice to get the gas money back, but you know what, if I gotta donate, if everyone else gets to make all the money in the county, that's fine, I'll just donate my time. They can put it toward a Christmas party or whatever they do with it. So if anyone wants to discuss it and continue on, that's fine, if they don't. If it goes down the road of then the committee has to disband because we're not some sort of employees versus non-employees, whatever, we just need to know that.
I don't think we wanna be employees, and, you know, I watched the finance meeting as well, and apparently that's an issue with some people, and maybe rightfully so, but, I guess I was thinking about making a motion here, but I don't wanna do it unless everybody is on board, they don't wanna be paid. I wish Dave was here. I know how Ross feels, so I can speak for him, he doesn't wanna be paid for anything.
I can understand their concerns about paying us, and I don't wanna be paid. I totally get why you wouldn't want to. But also, you know, I heard stuff in that finance committee, like, that kept getting brought up going into active logging jobs. Would any of us here go into an active logging job to inspect the trail while that's going on? I mean,
Absolutely.
it's kinda idiotic
So off base, what was?
to even think that. You know, and then if we wanna get technical, do we realize how many snowmobilers in a day's time? Cause I can tell you, because I use mine for winter hunting. I can tell you how many snowmobilers are driving right through active logging jobs. You know,
These are the facts of it.
unbelievable.
You're out here in this forest in the middle of nowhere and they're logging and they have a couple of skidders and a couple of packers and a couple of processors, and someone might be in there rabbit hunting, deer hunting, whatever they might be doing, they know where the equipment is, and there's a log truck coming and going, and it's so dangerous that no one should be in there, but then those log trucks line up down every county, township road, drive past us at speeds that are scary.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
It floors me to think that they don't think someone should be in an active logging job if they have business in there, whether that's hunting, fishing, trapping, whatever they're doing. It is absolutely mind-numbingly scary that there's people that think that. I've spent my life in active logging jobs doing things, not underneath the skidder. I mean, obviously, the logging job is a moving thing. We're not over there. Yeah, that is.
Has there ever been a civilian hurt in an active logging job in Rusk County? I would have to say no, because I've been in them things since the time I can remember, and you guys know why you're in them. I mean, but as far as me inspecting a trail, I sure ain't gonna inspect a trail in an active logging job when they're in there tearing it up and doing whatever they're doing. I'm gonna wait till they're done.
I can tell you why that was brought up though, because of those pictures these guys stumbled across. And how terrible that looked. They do not want the public seeing that. But as a member of the press, you certainly have a right to go in there and take pictures. As a member of the public, you certainly have to go pictures, whether we're on this committee or not.
And there was no active logging going on.
Well, sure there is. If there's a skidder there, they're gonna call it active.
Okay.
And for that spot, I can testify today that he went in. Right? Or you're not aware that he went in today? Skidder is gone today. So he went to these.
But, I'm sorry, we're slightly off track there, but, so, how do you guys feel about not being paid unless it jeopardizes this committee? Cause I'm willing to do it for free.
Well, I'll make a motion. I'll move that members of the Public Trails Ad Hoc Committee do not wish to receive any payment or mileage reimbursement for meetings or trail inspections while acting as a member of this committee.
I'll second it.
Read that again to me, you got it wrote down.
Members of the Public Trails Ad Hoc Committee do not wish to receive any payment or mileage reimbursement for meetings or trail inspections while acting as a member of this committee. Does that make sense, Connie?
Sure does.
And Don, you second it? If we're gonna vote on this, I think it needs to be a roll call, so we're on record.
Is there any more discussion on that? Let's let Connie type it up and she can read it to us, just to make sure.
I don't, technically, with the finance end of it, I don't know if that makes a difference on whether employees or whether we're employees or not employees, but at least we're making a statement.
I'm sure that some people on that committee thought we're gonna be driving around out there day and night trying to get paid, like all of us need the extra $20 for crying out loud, my God.
Well, we have
And get paid for the
county
ATV
board
and all that.
Good days here.
Trying to do what's right for the county, hopefully they can keep their carbon credits and keep their good standing, and I mean, my goodness.
All right, Dave, we're kinda in the middle of something. I just made a motion. We're talking about getting us, the committee being paid and being paid mileage. And I just made a motion, Don seconded it. Members of the Public Trails Ad Hoc Committee do not wish to receive any payment or mileage reimbursement for meetings or trail inspections while acting as a member of this committee.
Of the ad hoc trail committee,
Yeah, with the Ad Hoc Trail.
that's what I put at the end.
Okay, whatever's, yeah, okay.
You okay with that?
Yep. You got anything, do you wanna get paid, or how do you feel?
I've been a club member for years, I've never got paid, so I don't.
So you're okay with that?
I just donate my time.
You're okay with that?
The only thing is that, so, as an ad hoc, that's advisory then, does that, that's fine, I will vote on it, it doesn't matter to me. Alright,
I have to do that.
so we do it, we say all those in favor say aye, and then you roll them? No, you just roll them, okay.
She shows her own.
Mr. Williams,
No? You're gonna vote against that?
If you wanna get, yeah, that's in favor.
Okay.
You don't wanna get paid.
Chris Ellinger,
Yes.
Rod Ellinger,
Yes.
Don Mansky,
Yes.
Bob Rensa,
Yes.
and Jay Walls. So majority, 6 yes.
And I know for a fact Ross would be in favor of it, so.
Can you vote for Ross?
No.
Nope.
I'm kidding.
No, I'm just so everybody knows that we're all on the same page.
Can you vote by phone?
Yeah.
All right, so that carried.
Yep.
On,
I don't know if that's gonna make a difference, but we're gonna try.
on to D, discuss how our responsibilities interact with the county forestry, DNR, and soil and water employees. That was you, Rod.
Well, we talked about that quite a bit, but, I guess we need to, and this is a learning experience for all of us. It's kind of a moving target to a certain extent. But if Bob and I go out and inspect the trail, and we present it to the committee, and then Nick or Jared or Dane or somebody else goes out and looks at it, and you've got something different, or we need to talk about something, I think that the place to do that would be this committee, rather than at the forestry committee when we can't talk. I guess that's, I don't know, what do you guys feel? Does that sound like that makes sense?
It does to me, and I guess I'm speaking in really a peripheral role here, you know, I mean, I'm not on this committee, I'm from the beginning, I saw myself as sort of in the middle here, and trying to find the balance between everything. But, you know, I see, and it really, the part that I really wanted to be here for the discussion was a little further on there, some of the procedural type stuff anyway, but this is part of that procedure. I see your guys' role is going out there, finding, you know, taking requests from the public, for one. You know, you're gonna have, because you know the community, you know the people that are out there, people might come to you and say, you know, hey, I've got this trail, it's in good shape, I think, you take a look at it. So you go out and you take a look at it, and you follow through with the data collection on the condition and how the trail is constructed and everything. And then, from there, that's the procedural part that I'm not too sure about, because do you just hold on to that and come to this trails committee meeting and present that trail, and then is it up to one of us then at the county to maybe do a follow-up on that trail? The problem with that is it delays everything by a month, right? Because then we would have to come back to this committee after we go out and look at it, and come back, and then we can talk about it some more.
I think, just to that, Nick, that was the whole point of the committee, was charged with conducting the field verification of trail conditions, reviewing trail requests, forwarding recommendations, open and close status trail use designation. I mean, certainly you looked at some, I've looked at some, I went, took pictures, we put them up on the big screen. There's always gonna be someone who's gonna say this or that, but when we're spending our time, now absolutely for free, and we, you know, these have had, well, 20 years or 30 years to be, you know, that could all been up there for us to look at if previous foresters would have been a little more on it. I don't hold Jared responsible for any of this stuff, cause he's new to the job, and let's just try to bury the hatchet and move on with what we've got here. I mean, I think he's easy to talk to, and you're obviously easy to talk to, and let's get rid of all those old anglers from previous administrations and move forward and try to help each other. And so as we discuss how we interact, we just need to be nicer and friendlier and understand that we all have some end game here. Some of it's gonna be more use, some's less use, some's this, but I don't think any of us wanna go out there and destroy the forest, for crying out loud. So.
No, and 2 points there. One is, and I agree with that, you know, I think it should be the charge of this committee to go out and do an honest and fair assessment of those trails. And, you know, if you look at it and it looks good, you don't see any problems, then that gets brought to this committee and gets talked about, and you take some pictures and we look at them, and, you know, some of the forestry guys or some of us might have some experience there. If it's questionable, if you come across the trail and you're looking, it's like, man, I don't know, I'm on the fence, well then give us a call. I mean, just get a hold of us and say, hey, we're looking at this trail, it's got these issues, do one of you guys wanna go and take a look at it? Before the Trails Committee meets, so then we can have that discussion in here,
Well-
right when it happens.
I think that having been in that one block of county forest, and Chris and Ross in the other one, and some of these other guys in the other one, some of these trails have been there since I was 5 years old, and I'll show you pictures of me on them, taken with a Polaroid camera, that they don't look any different today than they looked then. So, you know, I think that when we look at, is it sustainable? Well, it's sustainable because it's been there 45 years. Is it maintainable? Well, it's probably maintainable if people cut the trees out of the way, if when they do the logging job, they do an appropriate job of following the BMP book, it will be maintainable probably in perpetuity and never ending. But if we allow overuse, misuse, or especially when they go to do the logging job, that it will never, they will destroy everything if they aren't following the book. And now that we have Jared and we all have the book and we can help him look over some of this, I think that'd be a huge win if we interact with those folks and find some of the problems that, cause they have a few guys, they have timber to market, they have meetings to go to. We're out there and holy cow, think of the damage that Bob and Rod saved when they saw that. I mean, that's, in my opinion, that's huge. So, and whatever happened previous to us guys and this committee and previous to some of these people's positions, we need to just forget about it and move on.
One thing that I wanna add, that this is my opinion, but I think anytime any of us are out there inspecting a trail, us, county employees, whatever, I think you'd be smart to throw a chainsaw on your wheel. And if there's a tree in the way, cut it out of the way. You know, do it right away. That's, the trail I checked out was actually the day before Thanksgiving that I walked through there. I didn't have to worry about that, cause hunting season, right? Somebody'd been in there hunting and they cleared the trees out of the way, so that was already done. But, you know, I think we might as well do that, right? I mean, you see a tree and you gotta come back and, okay, there's a tree, now who's gonna go cut it? Just cut it. Just, you know, just be done with it.
If it's an open trail, the skiers do it on their trails, the snowmobilers do it on their trails, the ATVs do it on their trails, the disc golf people certainly would do it over on the disc golf, the bow hunters would certainly do it on them. I don't know what other user groups I'm missing in this, but they would all maintain that themselves while they're there. So certainly, we as a general public, let alone be the committee, should have that right. That shouldn't even be it should be a non-starter. Of course, we should have that. It should be our obligation. So, you know.
That's my question to Jared. Is it illegal for us to do that? When we ride down a trail and there's a tree across the trail?
I don't know.
It only makes sense to cut the damn tree out of the tree.
Makes sense.
If you're not taking the wood, how
Yeah,
can
you're not taking the wood, you're just keeping the trail open.
We don't have an ATV trail for how many years, so.
Yeah.
So do you have a motion on this one, Rod, you wanted to make? I don't think so. Okay. Do you have anything, Jared, you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, you said that we need help inspecting timber sales. We don't need help. We get to every one every week.
No, I didn't say help. I said,
I heard
if
you.
we're there. Like that.
Yeah, I appreciate the heads up.
Right, so that's what I'm suggesting. We don't wanna inspect timbers. I got one use when I end up in a timber sale, and it has nothing to do with the loggers or the timber or anything. I'm catching a dog before he gets run over on the road. That's what I'm there for.
I mean, in that finance committee meeting, they were just having an issue with cutting trees off, because if we were employees and we cut ourselves, then they would be, the county would be liable, right? Is that why we're having such an issue with that? Because to me, you need to be cutting the trees off the trails.
I think there's more to it than that, but I don't know.
But it's happening, you
They
know.
said Rich, the lawyer has an issue and I don't really know exactly what.
Right, so if you're performing work for the county, you need to be covered under our work comp insurance, and we need to ensure that you have chainsaw safety training.
Even if you're not getting paid?
If the county is directing your work, if someone said you need to go out and examine this trail, then yes, you're performing work as if you were an employee. So that's where the lines are getting blurred here.
The county isn't directing our work, are they?
Well, I don't know, that's what we're trying to figure out here.
Mm-hmm. I don't think they are directing it.
Right, so
and-
you just, on
And if
your
I'm
own
on
decide.
one of the trails that are open and I come to a tree, can I cut it out of the way? Cause I always ride with the chainsaw.
Right, are you performing work as a Rusk County representative, or are you just out on
I'm just
your
riding
own?
down that trail.
Right, then that's not an issue.
To me, it's just not an issue.
But yeah, so that's the main concern is
Mhm.
liability from our standpoint.
Cause like you know who they call in my township to cut the trees when they're on the road? Me.
I have no doubt that all of you are certified in chainsaw safety and all of that stuff, but if you become an employee, then we have to run you through our training, document that.
We're not employees anymore, anyway.
Right, if we're not getting paid, I don't know, I guess I don't quite understand it all, but if we're not getting paid, I don't see how we're volunteers.
Right, and that's why this question came up. So if we were going to be reimbursing you to drive to these different trails, then you are crossing over into employee territory.
And I think it goes beyond even just chainsaw liability. I mean, if you're driving down a road as a Rusk County representative and you get into an accident, there's a liability issue. If
I'll
you're,
just bet Rusk County back me up on that.
if you're walking a trail and you twist your ankle as doing work directed by Rusk County, there's a liability issue. I mean, it's not just chainsaws, it's the whole package of doing anything as a representative of the county. I think that's where, like Ashley said, that's where that line is sort of drawn. And just what you guys need to do is just stay back from that line. You're not representing the county, you're out there on your own. Yes, you're a member of this committee, but nobody directed you to go and look at this trail other than the person from the public that called and say, hey, can you go look at this trail? I think it's good.
Anything else, Rob?
I don't think so.
Review the Rusk County BMPs and relate and are associated with forest trails. That was you two.
Yeah, I don't know if we need to dive into this. Everybody's got a manual. Everybody read it?
Right, most of it.
Okay.
I was impressed.
I think, I don't know that we need to try to dive into that, just, if you haven't read it, please do, and please really pay attention to chapter 4.
I didn't get a manual.
Yes, you did.
I did, where?
You gave it to Emily, she put it in your truck.
No, she didn't tell me. Alright, I'll have to take it up with
It's
her.
either in your truck or it's in your house.
Okay.
She got it, but you didn't.
Alright.
So anybody wanna dive into that, or should we kick that can down the road or whatever? I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory if you read it.
All I would say on the BMPs is, this is what I've done for 25 years is erosion control, and I've made a really good living doing it. I've watched what happens in state forest, county forest, private land. Right now, there's a spot they're plowing right up to a river. The river is flowing brown. I'm sure now that it's mostly froze, it's not anymore. But I think that if we're going to hold this high standard to ATVs, we need to hold that exact same standard to the people who are working in the forest and profiting. And maybe that's a tall ask or a tall order, but I don't think it should be at all, because it's already in the manual. I'm sure they've signed a contract saying they're gonna follow BMPs. Would that be accurate, Jared?
Yep, and it's also accurate to say that the people that brought forth this issue on BMPs with off-road vehicle use clearly said multiple times that there's never been an issue with forest management activities. That's just what they said.
Okay, now just last week we had to shut a logger down because of BMP
Yep.
violation, right?
Yep,
So
we shut them down, so there's the issue.
maybe with some new eyes on the subject, it will change then.
The thing that we have to do is address issues when we find them, and that's what we did.
That's good to know.
Well, and prevent them ahead of time if we can.
Correct.
And, you know, I guess I've been vocal in saying this many times, but I would like to see moving forward, all logging jobs that, you know, we crown and ditch the main trails. And I know that's up to the forestry committee to take that step, but, you know, then if we do that, we're meeting the BMPs right up front, so.
Yeah.
It clearly states that in the book.
Yeah.
I'm not a deer hunter, but during deer season, I had the opportunity to go around and question a bunch of loggers on this. I said, first question, do you bid wood in Rusk County? Nope. All of them said no. I said, why? One of them said, because they don't have enough summertime logging because the roads aren't put in right to start with. This is pre-Jared, of course, most of them. I said, is that the only thing? They said, well, that's some of it, but they said that the wood price would go up 30 to 50% if these roads were put in properly to start with. That goes with what I heard in the county north of here, who said their logging jobs on a 5-mile road that they had bulldozed in, that they paid, the forestry department paid, their logging jobs their revenue went up 20% on it, because now they had a decent road to work from. We have these guys there with the equipment, all they've gotta do is follow the BMP manual, and we would start seeing profitability skyrocket. I would liken this to saying, well, we're in our early career, let's not put money in our 401k, because 30 years from now, we'll benefit. I mean, let's start fixing this stuff now and move on, so 30 years from now, this wood is worth more, if it is worth anything, by the, you know, but at least then we'd have a decent road system.
Jay, what if it's a winter sale and you want them to crown and ditch it? How do they do that?
You're talking through a wetland?
A frozen ground for winter sale, how do you ditch and crown it?
Well, the thing about it is there will be a sale behind there, off to the right and off to the left and back.
Answer my question.
You're talking a winter sale?
Yes.
Most of those are cleaned up and finished in the spring, aren't they? The winter logging jobs, cause you guys have to inspect, and if there's any trail damage or whatever, they have to fix it, right?
Yeah, they
And
have to go back in the summer.
Yeah.
Usually after July 15th.
Okay.
And do some drainage work.
So let me answer.
You don't have to crown and ditch to follow BMPs.
Right, so my position is, if that logger is making what's called an artificial impoundment, which is lowering the grade, that should be absolutely a no-no right from the start. If they need to get in there earlier in the summer and bulldoze it up, if it goes through a wetland, they can't do that unless they use the exemption anyway. But on any high ground, this should be done, so the next logger further back and the next logger further back has better travels.
So the logger moves out when he's done in the midwinter, he's gonna come back in the summer and crown and ditch it at his expense then?
I think he has to anyway, if he's following the BMPs.
No, he doesn't have to.
Why does he have to? Why not would he?
Because the trails have to be made to that, and if he's making artificial impoundments, lowering that, he's not following the BMP.
Okay, he's going in a mile on the ridge all the way in the winter time, it's frozen flat. Now you want him to come back in the spring and ditch it and crown it? I'm just looking at the other side of it a little bit. I read a little bit of that book. up to the second paragraph, and it says, this is street smart. Whatever, stupid. I didn't agree with it at all, I quit.
Right, but this is what the DNR's forced this on us, and if we want our carbon credit money,
Have
then,
they ever built a road?
have I ever built a road?
Have they ever built a road? Whoever wrote that damn book?
Well, you better go out to the DNR and take it up with them.
I got an idea how it was done, but does that make sense?
The book does not require the road to be crowned and ditched.
Yeah. Why would they?
It says that the main concern should be to get the water off the road, the second concern is to get the water away from the road.
Okay, it's different, getting the water off the road, you said it there, you don't have to be all crowned and ditched to get the water off the road.
So you want it to run down the road?
No, off the road, you just said off the road.
And away from the road.
And away from the road, yes, I don't need to be crowned and ditched to do that.
I would agree, in some places it doesn't.
Oh, we all agree, let's move on.
Good, let's go, Jared. Jared's got, he's gonna be on overtime soon.
Already on overtime.
Alright, well,
Let's move on.
alright, regulation of the frozen road rule. This is the only thing I had on there.
Well, let me ask one question before you get
Yeah.
down into that. I think timing is perfect right now. Are we into frozen roads on these
Absolutely.
trails right now?
I'm breaking through the ice.
Some roads, some are,
Right.
some aren't.
Okay, if it's a big water hole, you're gonna break through, right? So it's not frozen yet? Is that?
I would agree with that.
If
Well,
it's-
I
Still
went,
gotta be, smart about it,
Right.
a little bit. Yeah, in a swamp or a wetland where there's no frost, it might not work out, some areas it will.
I went east on the snowmobile trail off the Hackett Road before I came all the way south and went home. I went in as far
On
as.
the Loggers Road that.
Excuse me?
Are you talking about the Loggers Road that was an issue?
Yes.
Okay.
So I walked in as far as, where the snowmobile trail actually goes to the northeast, and from what I could see, without walking all the way down there was a skid steer there. I'm assuming he might have backbladed the thing first or whatever, but, there was no skidder there, and there was, no pickup there. So I don't know if it took them both in. I don't believe that it was picked up, because it was sitting there yesterday. And there was no tracks of, any big, equipment to haul it, so I really believe that it went east. Across that, I had walked in hunting and looked at it, and no one at that time had been on it with any ATVs. And I gotta believe that with 10-degree temperature for a few mornings, that things were froze down pretty good.
I would think you could probably drive that mud road today. And it's
It goes
frozen,
forward.
you're not gonna break through it forward. Which would mean you're in every right, according to the ordinance, to go ahead and do that anyway, it's frozen.
Okay, I just wanted to kind of.
If the ground is
That
frozen,
was
that's
the-
the way it's frozen.
That's the intent of it, if it's froze, you're not gonna hurt it, so go ahead.
Okay.
So the regulation of the frozen road rule, this was it's what I've been talking about for a year, honestly. With the hobby I have, I end up in active logging jobs with my pickup in multiple counties, state forests, to gather up a dog. We have a 3,000 pound weight limit, is that accurate?
Yep.
And the way that even when the frozen road is on, it stays under 3,000?
Yeah, I think it does, yeah.
So if someone wants to gather firewood in there, that's, you know, on the edge of this logging job, when they're done, that's a no-go for the pickup, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, that is a no-go, maybe that needs to be relooked at.
Okay.
Well, they need a county permit to go in and cut in the first place. But then it comes back to whether we can be on a frozen road or not.
Well, we can be on, the reason I'm asking this, Bob, is that I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I can unload my four-wheeler, or I can unload my snowmobile and be this high off the ground riding in there, or I can drive my truck in there a mile and grab the dog and get the heck out of there. That's that's kinda hunting I do. I'd rather, you know, be able to see, I've never had an accident, I'm 51 years old, so I've been driving for 35 years. I literally have been multiple logging jobs, I have the phone number, the loggers call me when there's stuff in there. I'd like to know how you guys feel if we'd ask I know, I've talked to Jared about this and I'll let him comment, but about people who want a firewood cut, trap a beaver pond that's some way off with a pickup, especially when it's cold, a hunt, whatever they're doing, that they may have to use that frozen road that these loggers are utilizing, if they should be able to drive something over 3,000 pounds. So what do you think, Jared? I mean, they're driving 80,000 pound semis in there, right?
No, yep, I think it's a good point, good topic for discussion. You're not gonna hurt anything. You know,
So-
if you're not willing to worry about the, liability aspect, you could probably argue that you're safer if you're in your vehicle.
For sure, that's what I'm concerned about. I'm in them daily, I mean, I know multiple loggers. None of them seem to have a problem with that, I'm sure that some do, but none that I could find. So, at this point, if you're comfortable with people driving in there on the frozen road when they're, you know, if you're comfortable with that, I would like to, change, have the ordinance modified slightly, that people could take a pickup in there if needed. When that comes to the forestry, is that gonna be a problem for you?
I don't think so. It should be carefully thought out.
I agree.
You know, when there's snow, when there's a foot or two of snow and you're driving a four-wheeler on soft ground, you're not gonna hurt the ground, but if you're driving a truck, you may.
Frozen.
Because, well, it's snow covered, frozen, slightly frozen, you're gonna have a lot more likelihood of damaging a wetland if you're in a truck. Clearly on an active logging job where it's frozen hard, you're not gonna hurt it with anything. I'm not sure, quite, I don't know if it's.
You're talking the
I understand
scenario kind of
exactly.
like last year where we had a lot of snow right away, ground wasn't frozen yet, and it never did really freeze. In those situations, there is a big difference between a four-wheeler and a truck.
Correct.
Absolutely, but what, I'm talking frozen ground, so that wouldn't be the frozen ground. And last year, we all know what that snow was like, you would be driving a pickup around much of that anyway, so. I mean, some people might, but you're not gonna stop them anyway.
So is this something where the ordinance would start with this committee and then go to the forestry, or does that have to come strictly from forestry committee?
We would bring it to them and then they would look it over, decide if they would wanna pass it on.
I think in your report, you could just tell them that you'd like that looked at.
Why don't we put that on the agenda for the next meeting and try to come up with something for the next meeting? Does that make sense?
That's fine by me.
When's the next forestry meeting? We could get in before that, and we'd still hit the meeting. I mean, I
The
guess.
20th, is that correct, Jared?
Okay.
Third Wednesday?
20th. Yep, the 20th.
I mean, we can kick that to the end when we're setting the meeting date, but if we meet before the 20th, we could have a possible suggested ordinance for them. Or however you wanna word it. Does that make sense?
20th of Okay. We'll just have to schedule a meeting before that at some point. Set the next meeting date.
I mean, I get what you're saying, at the time of the essence.
Yeah, otherwise, I'm afraid it's gonna cost me about $30,000 this
But
week,
doing it tonight or anytime before the 20th doesn't matter.
Right.
So I suggest that they get the word from Heidi with the ordinance, because if they're gonna change something, that's where it's gotta come from. She's the only one that has it in word, right?
Oh, you mean the back.
For that phone.
Yeah.
Then they can make suggested changes on there by striking out and adding in.
So we kind of work on Heidi ahead of time. on that.
Or Rodney could just come in and we can hash it out.
Yeah. Yeah, they both.
He wants you to come.
What do you mean he wants?
What's that? Alright, moving on to procedures for submitting trail open and close requests.
Wait back up a second.
Oh, yeah.
No, the ground's frozen today, or last couple days it's been frozen. Say it warms up to like 50 degrees or whatever, the sun's been beating on it, and starts to make a little slimy, then what?
Is the ground frozen? That's all you would have to ask yourself.
Well,
Right now is when those trails take the most beating, in my opinion.
okay.
When people go in the morning, not today, but the last week. If it's frozen, it's frozen. If it's not frozen, it's not frozen. That's the whole point of it. Stay on the closed, or stay off the closed trails till it's frozen.
Then a hunter could also then, if it's frozen hunting season, they could use it then too.
Right?
Yeah. Correct.
That's the beauty of it. Hopefully the deer hunters can get in there some days and be out before it unthaws.
They sure they were not.
Alright, procedures for submitting trail open and close requests.
Well, I wonder if we should, kick that to the next meeting, and, we're not gonna get anything accomplished tonight, and I don't know that we have any trails to present tonight, do we?
I didn't get any requests, but people are hunting now, so.
Yeah, and I mean, I've looked at a couple, but I'm not ready to present them, one way or the other, or anything.
I did have a call from some people up on the northeast side of the hills.
I guess my opinion, G&H, let's kick that can down the road till next month.
Any problem with that, anyone?
I think that's a good suggestion.
Before we leave that, if I just wanna add something there. You know, there was some discussion and consternation about the form, the change in the form. And I just want to reiterate that there is no grand conspiracy there. That form was changed, modified, not to close trails, not to do any of that. It was changed so that we could more closely keep track of and record simply the condition and the construction of the trails that are out there. So that we could start to put together a database, basically, a pile of data on all of those trails. What is the condition, how are they made, how are they constructed, what's the surface like, and just build up this database that we can reference so that we can direct money to it. And if somebody comes and says, hey, this is a good trail, we'd like to create a loop here. Well, now we've got this data, this trail's been looked at, yeah, it was pretty good here and here, we've got some issues here, let's throw some money in there, and then we can bring it up to the condition that we need to open it, or we can open it to UTVs, change the use designation, whatever it might be, so. I guess I just want to assure everybody that there was no nefarious purpose to changing that form. We just wanted to start recording what the condition is of those trails. Even if you go down there and say, well, no, it really doesn't have that type of surface, and no, it doesn't have these slopes, and no, it doesn't have ditches, whatever, it doesn't mean that it still can't be opened for limited use, for ATV only. Right? It just means that we've documented what that trail is. And we have that we can then show to the DNR if they come and ask and say, well, what are you doing with trail management? We'll have our data. We can say, this is what we're doing. We're documenting what the conditions are of those trails.
Yeah, a paper trail.
A paper trail, yeah.
Do we have any direction or whatever from DNR or whoever reviews our plan or anything else on to say that you need this, this, and this? Do we know exactly what we need as far as to have to show? Or just kind of just
I
update?
think that's kind of
Yeah,
where
we don't
that
know
form
exactly.
came from.
We don't know exactly what we need.
Yeah,
I
it
had
was-
some discussions with some DNR folks. You know, I went and looked at a couple roads that you guys had suggested open, and the committee opened them. And there were wetlands on there. gully that it shouldn't have been open under those conditions. And, the idea of this forum is to make sure that everybody's looking at everything thoroughly. The problem that you run into if we're gonna be opening roads that we shouldn't, is that that's when we get ourselves into more trouble and they'll come after us again. Does that make sense?
Have they inspected the original problem area?
Yes.
They finally did get up there?
Yeah.
When did they finally do that?
Quite a while ago, a couple months ago. Shortly after we did the string work and seeded it down.
Okay, interesting.
I see some truck trying to drive in there. Or a month ago.
Just exactly to your point, I think the only people that are being penalized are the ones that'll follow the rules. It's that simple. That's the only people being penalized.
Yeah, we're doing all this for the minority. Nothing.
Well, I think the majority follows the rules, but the
The
problem is,
majority
no
does
matter
follow
what
the
you
rules, yeah.
do,
We're
you're
being
gonna get someone who
penalized
goes
too.
and does that.
One other thing I wanna throw in there before we completely kick that out is, earlier this fall, after we get all the rain, I noticed on the news that Clark County closed their trails. I'm thinking, that probably makes a certain amount of sense, that, we should keep that in mind, that, if we get, like, earlier this fall, when we get a lot of rain, all the trails are really soft, even the ones that are normally good, maybe we just need to close them for a period of time or whatever, nobody really wants to, but most of, I didn't travel those trails this fall because I knew they were wet. And most of the people who normally use them, that's the attitude we have, it makes no sense.
Well, the thing that you're saying there is, these trails, a whole bunch of them have been there for 40 and 50 years. So even if someone splashes through a little mud puddle in the fall, when it's wet, by spring, mostly it's been set back up.
Healed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We talk about sustainability and maintainability, the fact that they've been there 40 and 50 years, and now that we've passed this ordinance, it's like the sky is gonna fall and the world is gonna end if someone splashes through a mud puddle. They've been splashing through the mud puddle for 50 years and it looks like that. It's not that big a deal unless they get up on the creek and start doing crazy things. But those people, you can't stop them. They're gonna do what they're gonna do.
Yeah, I don't know, we can talk more about that moving forward.
All right, and we didn't.
Clark County does it all the time too. You get, the conditions get to the point and you close the trails for a period of time, whether it's 2 days or 3 days. But I think it makes sense, when conditions don't allow it.
And we didn't have any field verified trails no one looked at, right?
No,
Okay.
none for me.
And I didn't have any requests, they were gonna look them over during deer season up on the northeast side of the hills there, so. And see about what they looked like before I went up there. And nothing else.
So where do we stand on that roach trail, that went right directly to the committee?
Yeah, I got nothing to do with us.
Okay. Will it in the future, let's say he gets that
Oh,
all.
if he gets it open, I suppose
He gets it
possibly.
all fixed up and whatever, that's one that I suppose we'll have to inspect to see if it's okay at that point.
Yeah, he'll have to get a permit to put a crossing on the street.
And then he goes right up to his property, if someone wants to open it, right, get an open request from us and go right up to the property, that would be something that we could look at, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
But then as time goes by on that trail, is that something we should be inspecting periodically, see that it's not getting destroyed?
That would be the case with every single open trail in the forest.
Yeah.
Be looking at them.
Well, I think that's part of our job, am I right?
I guess so.
Well, I think, here's the deal, if they don't want, if you've got how many miles of trails or how many numbered trails?
I'd have to look.
If you've got 3,000 trails, and now we've just given up our pay, this is what the problem was. we've waited for many, many years for, you know, the foresters to have a plan. Jared said Paul had a plan, and I remember the plan, I'd have to look it over. Apparently it was not well received, as I recall, at the 300 or 400 people out at the high school and the near riot out here. Right, so it wasn't a very good plan, let's put it that way, or people didn't approve of it. But getting back to that deal, the public also has to have, like, they have some stake in the game. Otherwise, what happens is, they all start running for office and they all start making changes of their own if we can't work within the system we've got. And that's when the problems can get better or worse, but it definitely will be chaos for a while. And, we need to make sure that everyone feels like they've got some skin in the game and that their feet are being warmed by the fire some, that's all I'm saying. Anything else? We need to set a meeting date. What's this now? I have no plan.
Do we wanna try to hit right before the 20th, or do we wanna go the week before?
Whatever Chris and Don, Ross and Bob and Dave are available, and you, I'm pretty free.
And the room is available, that seems to be an issue sometimes.
Right, that's why I have the calendar open.
So what days are, can you tell them here, do I gotta look on here?
You have a look right here, so this is here. On the 14th,
You have 14?
13th,
Chris is gonna tell us when he's out.
12th it is.
What day are you thinking?
Well, you said the 14th is not an option? Okay, so not the 14th. How about 12th or
So
13th?
it's December?
Yeah.
13th.
Be a week before the forestry meeting.
13 works for you guys?
Yeah. 13th is good.
Are you available the 13th, Jared?
I probably won't be,
Okay.
not that, is that the end of the world?
Well, we could have a quorum.
Yeah, I'm having a colonoscopy.
Oh,
I'm not gonna step in for you.
not gonna take it for the
No.
team?
You can take my place as long
I'm
as
not
you
gonna
get a
take that
good
one
result.
for the team. Right. 12th?
I don't want the 12th.
Okay.
That's booked anyway.
Okay.
That'd be, yeah, my last night.
Well, these guys just quit their job, it'd be a lot easier.
I just,
So
just
you
ask
don't,
my
so
wife
you
for
don't
more
want
money.
the 13th? You don't want the 13th?
do the 13th. Jared and Bob on the road.
Well, 11th.
11th is a Saturday.
No, it's a Monday.
It's a Monday.
Oh, I'm in the wrong month,
And
sorry.
you can. That one's available.
9th through the 12th for me, that's my days of work.
So what is?
9th through the 12th.
Okay.
12 hours, so, every day. I really don't wanna do a meeting. Yep.
Well, is the 18th or 19th any better for you? Or are you still?
18th is available,
You don't have to plan around
19th
me.
is not.
Well, because we're gonna handle that frozen road deal, I would honestly like, unless you want Rod and I to come talk to you previous to that.
We can, but we still gotta go through this committee, right?
Right, no, but,
I don't really have to go through this committee. Good.
We could,
How quick would
but
that-
if he's,
if he's willing to sign off on us, do we even need to have a meeting?
No, I don't need to sign off. I think it's something we should look at, I think we come in my office, we schedule a time, and we can
So if the two of
figure
us,
out how to
would-
best fit it in there and.
two of us would come in and meet with you and Heidi, you think we could do what we need to do and present to forestry, is that acceptable?
I think so.
yeah, that was easy,
Cause we can set a meeting date later, we don't have to necessarily set it here now, do we?
right.
yeah, for sure.
Make sure I'm there, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
And with the, you're gonna stop in about the 11
Yeah.
later?
Yeah. We'll do it all the same day, depending on how quick we do that. We can figure that out.
I really appreciate you two coming.
Yeah.
Giving your 2 cents.
Yep. For sure.
I didn't want it gone.
I know you did, we've been missing you for like 6-8 months or whatever it is.
Y'all want a funding now?
No.
No?
Maybe you could get a raise out of this.
I don't think you know how to.
So, do we not gonna try to set a next date?
I guess if we can run it through the forestry that way, and unless these other guys that have a problem, if they don't have a say in how it's written up, but.
You guys okay with that?
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. Okay. When do we need to meet again? How quick? January? I mean, there's gonna be a whole lot of inspections going on over the winter, we need to get a few things figured out maybe, but.
I think January would work. December, if it's a dry December, cold, you and I might spend some time up there.
And after deer season, we may get some calls. People, once they start downloading the map, the ones that, although I drove by some of the county forest and people were using the roads that are closed, like they never ever put a sign up there, so. All right, I guess, we're not setting the time, and, all right. Someone wanna make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Chris is second. All those in favor?
Jared, the next couple of weeks, is there any days that absolutely don't work for you? You think it's right away in the morning? Think so?
I would prefer afternoon, but
Okay,
whatever.
well, whatever.
Yeah, there are some, but I don't know them off the top of my head.
You maybe shoot us a text or something, and try to get a date nailed down.
Yeah, tomorrow morning.
I visit next couple of weeks, we should get this done.
Before, yeah, might take it to handle, make sure everyone's.
Sounds good, thanks